Does Christianity and the Bible have to be approached as a belief system? For many, this is self-evident, but it is also true that many things that we take as self-evident become less so when we start to ask the right questions. Hello from Sweden, and welcome to Everyday Mystic, a gentle guide to your liberation. My name is David, and I hope that you're feeling well and that you're having a good day. I actually want to begin today's video by offering an apology. I want to apologize for my hell video. I stand behind all of the message in it, but the way I said it left much to be desired. There was a lot of pride and ego behind the video, and I want to treat such a delicate subject more subtly. I still leave the video up, and I will even offer a link at the end screen so you can watch it for yourself. As I said, I stand behind the message, but it is also very important how you communicate the message. And this is actually how I want to set the tone for today's video as well. Because today's video is a lot about the attitude we take towards certain things and how it shapes our behavior and our interactions with other people. And this is also leading us towards the first statement that I want to make, which is that I want to be able to speak to everyone that is going through a spiritual awakening, and of course anyone else that wants to listen. And if a label is hindering this type of communication, then the label is a hindrance in general for what I am trying to accomplish. So, what if the books of the Bible were written with a knowledge of the limits of language? Now there is a lot to unpack here, because when we speak about the limits of language, it is limited to a cultural context, it is limited by the level of knowledge and understanding of the recipients. This is why we cannot just take a text, read it, and understand it fully. Every person will inevitably have their own interpretation. And this is very important in this context, because this is something that we need to keep in mind all of the time as we approach religious texts. Now I want to ask you another question. What if the most esoteric truths about our experience is actually hidden in the most produced book in history, which is the Bible? I will make a longer video about this in the future. But now I want you to keep these questions in mind as I zoom in on the topic for today's video. Because I want to move away from abstract theological concepts and into personal experiences. And since this is also a video about belief systems, I want to make it clear how I use the word belief system. My definition is a label that contains a set of beliefs, that is tied to identity, and therefore we also have an emotional investment in the system. This is also why it's so difficult when we get our belief systems challenged, that we feel that our identity is threatened when our belief system is challenged, and this shapes how we interact with our human experience and with other people when it comes to our belief systems. The thing is that when you look at the human experience, the more you analyze it, the more you observe it, the more complexity you will find. You will find, as I already mentioned, that language is a very difficult thing. At the same time, communication is at the heart of everything. All living creatures communicate in some way. And language, as of now, is the most complex way of communicating with each other. We use language, but we also use pictures, we use music, we use all kinds of ways to communicate things. And this is important, but we cannot directly assume that our communication is perceived the way that we intend it. And I would also postulate that people who are on a higher level, such as for example Jesus or other spiritual masters, were more keenly aware of this than the general public. And this is also something to keep in mind, because this could shape how they actually tried to communicate something. They might very well know that people will not be able to understand all of these abstract esoteric concepts that they were trying to communicate. So, with that being said, let's really look at the personal experience, because this is not unimportant. The actual practical use of a particular aspect of our experience, such as a belief system. And now we are primarily talking about the belief system Christianity. And we are talking about it in the terms of a label that we attach to ourselves. So, the first question is, does the label unite or separate? This is very important. When you communicate with other people from this stance, does it mean that you invite them into your life, invite them to have a conversation that is open with them? Or does it shut you down and make you want to change them, to impose your belief system on them? I'm not saying that anything is right or wrong, by the way. I'm just talking about what I want to accomplish with my particular communication, which is an open dialogue with everyone that is starting to wake up to the fact that the world is not what we perceived it to be, and that we are living in very special times right now. Next question, is it a label that causes us to feel love or fear? Many people, and I think that there is something to this, believe that at the absolute fundamental core of our experience we all always have a choice between love or fear. And fear drives us further down into darkness, confusion, and further away from God, while love is bringing us closer to God and to other people and make our experience more complete, more whole, more understandable, and so on. And next, does it broaden or diminish my understanding of the human experience? And there is actually a lot to unpack here. Because you see, apart from being called to look closer into Christianity, but from the perspective that Christianity is probably not what most people think it is, I've also felt called to explore more esoteric concepts, esoteric ideas, and work with a lot of different spiritual practices. So if, for me personally, the label Christian puts a wet blanket over this and tells me that, oh, you should be careful with this or that because God might get angry at you for it, then it is a problem for me. And the thing is that where I am right now, there is both a lot of confusion and a lot of clarity in my life. Because if you knew what I have experienced in my life, you would understand why I see things the way I do. But I cannot make you see my experience. This is also another fundamental aspect of being human. We only have access to our own experiences. So when I tell you something, it is just words for you, while I am telling you something that may or may not be true, but if it is true, it might be something very earth-shattering for me. I was first planning to talk a bit more about these experiences, which are very much supernatural in origin. But I realized that I was not prepared to do so, and I'll explain why. You see, it's one thing to have an experience, and it's another thing to interpret the experience afterwards and try to understand what exactly happened and try to make sense of it. And it's yet another thing to try and communicate this to other people. And since I'm still very much trying to make sense of these experiences, I don't think that I will be able to talk about them in a useful manner. So I will leave it at saying that these experiences were totally earth-shattering for me. And they changed how I view myself, reality, and other people. What I'm talking about comes from direct, undeniable experiences, even though, as I said, I haven't fully made sense of them yet. And on top of this, I am more and more waking up to that reality is not what it appears to be when we approach it with the five senses, that on an absolute fundamental level we are one with God and one with each other. And all of this, where I stand right now, are hard to fit together. But this is what I have to work with, because this is in no undeniable terms what my experiences are telling me, and how I am trying to approach this is as openly as possible. I try to inquire things of myself over and over again, asking myself, am I truly sincere in my stances? Am I truly sincere when it comes to what I feel and believe about the things that I hold for true and base my life on? And this is also very important questions to ask oneself. What do I truly have reasons to believe in? Because our belief systems cause us to filter reality. If we have a belief system that we approach our human experience from, we are going to filter out some facts, take in other facts, and distort the information that we take in so that it fits into our belief system, or so that we can dismiss it on faulty grounds. This is something that happens unconsciously. And this is something that you will see for yourself the more you explore your mind, the more you look at how you actually approach your day-to-day experiences. So here is what I have concluded. Something really amazing is happening on the planet right now. We don't know exactly what is going on. I think that there is something to the more new agey concepts of going from 3D to 5D reality, because I can very clearly feel how a shift is taking place inside of myself and how this causes me to view reality in a new manner. And this very much confirms what I have listened to and read about this shift that is supposed to be taking place right now. But there also seem to be, honestly, some end times prophecies from the Bible coming true right now. Just look into end times prophecies for yourself if you want to see this. I will make a whole video about this in the future, but this will be a very long video if I try to fit it into this one. So I just ask you to wait a little for that video and check out the topic for yourself. But I am not a fire and brimstone kind of guy. I don't believe at all that we will see a future where God just comes down and rains fire on the earth and sentence some people to go to hell and some to go to heaven. But if I'm going to say something about this, since life is an inner game and everything fundamentally is one, from what I can tell, the book of Revelation is mainly about inner processes, even though it also points to the turmoil that will arise on the outside, which we already are seeing in the world today. But from what I can tell, there is nothing that we have to be afraid of in this. On the contrary, we can rejoice in the fact that the world is now slowly being corrected, beginning with that we as individuals are waking up to our true nature and start changing ourselves so that we become more in alignment with God's divinity, which we essentially are one with. Now, as this video is centered around Christianity, I thought that this could be a good time to talk a little bit about Jesus. First and foremost, from studying the New Testament, I've come to the conclusion that there is no better example and no better teaching than those of Jesus when it comes to how we should live our lives here, how we should treat other people, and how we should relate to God. But there might also be more to this. For example, there are over 300 prophecies in the Old Testament that point to Jesus. And I have had my own personal experiences that seem to point to there might be something more to Jesus. But as of now, I have a hard time fitting this in with my other experiences. So for now, I have to leave the question of Jesus open. So, what has become very clear to me is that life, salvation if you will, eternal life, our existence together with God, all of this is freely given. It's not going to be taken away from us depending on our choices, even though we can create more suffering for ourselves depending on how we choose to live. And this is also another interesting aspect of the human condition actually. That when people act in accordance with their ego, with their lower nature, they tend to suffer. They think that they go after things that are going to make them happy. But if you look out into the world today, are people that live in this manner truly happy? So there is something fundamentally broken about their perception of reality of themselves and other people when they make choices that both cause misery for others and make themselves unhappy. But in no uncertain terms, I've been shown that ultimately everything is freely given. We don't have to do anything particularly to earn God's love, and we can never distance ourselves from God's love even if we can perceive it that way. But we are living in very special times. And if you want to be among the movers and shakers, whether it is in a big or small way, and live a truly authentic life, because authenticity is also important in this. You need to strive to live in accordance with your divine nature, and not in the nature of the ego. Not following lower instincts and egoistic wants, wishes and desires. You have to actually strive to live in accordance with your fundamental oneness with God and express this oneness out into the world in your interactions with your experiences and with other people. There are a lot of things that I don't know about this, but does it really matter? All I know is that this is what will create most happiness both for myself and other people, and bring me closer to realize my fundamental oneness with God, that is always there, but which is being shrouded by the ego. Is there a reward for those that aspire to live in this manner? Well, you get to wake up, become free, realize who you truly are, realize your fundamental oneness with God, and I don't think that there can be any bigger reward in this world than to live in a truly authentic relationship with your Creator. And that's it for today. If you like this video, leave a like, leave a comment, and share the video on social media and other places. All of it helps the channel to grow. And if you haven't done it already, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so YouTube always notifies you of new videos. And check out the description and the comment section for other things that me and my wife are doing. Especially check out my store Trickster Saint, where you will find my own creative productions. And other than that, just sincerely thank you for your time.